My name is Alex Wong, and I am the Director of Marketing at SmartSimple. Joining us in this presentation is Eric Lauer, our Director of Customer Experience. Hello, Eric.
Hey, Alex, how's it going? Hello to everyone out there.
Yeah, I like to say that he's the brains and I'm the beauty, but frankly speaking, I think he's actually both. But I'm not going to hold that against him. Okay, let's go briefly over the agenda. We're going to start off with a brief introduction to SmartSimple. Now, from there, we're going to talk about some of the pain points and challenges that we've uncovered working with some of the Blue plans that we've worked with over the years. Now, as we do that, we'll actually be showing you through some demonstrations in the SmartSimple platform how we solve these challenges. And then after that, we'll wrap up by opening up the floor for some questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So just a couple fast facts about SmartSimple to begin with. We've been around since 2002, and at this point, we support over 300 clients. This includes 13 Fortune 100 companies and 2 Blue plans. We have over 115,000 monthly active users across 200 countries, and we have staff based in Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Richmond, Toronto, and Dublin, Ireland, not Ohio. We also have a BCBS GPO agreement, and as a preferred vendor, we do offer special pricing to all Blue plans on our corporate responsibility solutions. I think it's safe to say that the pricing we offer via the GPO agreement is probably the most generous pricing offer that we've made available anywhere. So I wanted to show this screen just real briefly because I wanted to talk about our security posture. And the reasons why a lot of corporate entities and government agencies choose SmartSimple is because they know that security is never a cause for concern. We spent years working with the likes of the DoD, the U.S. Treasury, and corporate clients like Whole Foods, and they've really helped us push us to ensure that our technology adheres to the strictest security protocols available. Even still, we're always looking for new ways to ensure our platform stays ahead of the security curve. Now, for the purposes of today's webinar, our primary focus will be to talk about impact and reporting from the lens of corporate giving. Now, that said, I think it's worth mentioning that the suite of solutions really covers every aspect of corporate social responsibility programs, including employee giving as well as sustainability programs. I think that's what's really neat about our platform is that it enables clients to be able to manage any and all of their programs from one central instance. So what that means is that one place to access all of your corporate giving, employee giving, and sustainability programs in one instance. So at this point, I want to shift gears and start talking about some of the challenges that we've uncovered that the Blue plans face from a corporate giving perspective. Now, I should mention that much of the research and information that we've gathered has been through our experience working with, again, some of the Blue plans that we're already working with. But we also spent some time sitting down with the GPOs, the CSR team, and discussed some of these challenges. Now, from that, some of the main challenges we uncovered are, the first one is the pain of having to deal with multiple software for multiple programs without one centralized solution that can handle everything and can record keep for everything. The second challenge we uncovered is that most have felt pain from the difficulty aggregating metrics across multiple programs or systems. And from the folks we've talked to, many also expressed how their software is difficult to use, which is often exacerbated by the fact that staff aren't properly equipped and supported by the right training, which of course manifests in not being able to provide the right type of metrics and reporting to demonstrate impact. Cost of ownership isn't directly related to the reporting aspect, but it was also mentioned as a pain point for the Blue plans, as well as customer support, poor customer support that is, that's slow and ineffective. And finally, the last thing that was mentioned was many felt challenged by the fact that they're working with outdated software that no longer offers functionality and flexibility in that their reporting needs require. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over each of these individual problems, and we'll discuss some potential solutions around, or how we offer solutions around it. I think I skipped a slide here. So the next slide here, the one that we've got right now, is what makes SmartSimple different. So Eric, I think I'm going to pass the presentation over to you, and why don't you go over this particular slide?
Yeah, and this is segues nice because this is where we're going to kind of switch the tone and go into a little bit of a demonstration as well. So, but maybe just to touch on this slide that we're seeing now, and this sort of addresses some of those challenges, is that being a platform solution and not sort of an off-the-shelf or a point solution means that you can take care of many of your tracking requirements all on the same platform. So I can track my grants, maybe I can track my volunteers, my budgets, my programs, all within the same platform. And then what that allows you to do is then aggregate all that data and report on it all in one spot. So it's not like you have to go to 10 different systems, dump all the information out somewhere and then report on it that way. Another benefit to our platform versus some other platforms out in the market today is that we do everything through configuration and not customization. So what does that mean? That really means that any changes that you make in the system, anything that you want, maybe you want to add a new question to one of your grant application forms, you just configure that. So that means you go to a particular configuration screen, you add in your new question and any parameters, and then you can save it and do it all through the interface. You don't need a developer to come in and write some new code and then put it into the software for you. You can do it yourself with the proper training, which leads to our third point. It's just really about empowerment. So when we first created the platform, going back into 2003, not to date myself, but to kind of go back to those original days, but really what we wanted to do is kind of change the way people thought about software, and it's nice to see that the things are happening that way now too, with all the smartphone and devices, putting the power into the end user's hands versus having to rely on, I got to call the IT guys and they got to make a change and then they got to code it and do all this stuff. We wanted to put that power into the fingertips of the users. And also it's a cost saving as well on your end. Again, we're dealing with people's data. It's such a big thing in the news today and just in general. Anytime you're dealing with web-based products or in the cloud, you want to make sure that security is front and center, and that's why we take that so seriously. We want to make sure that the data that we're holding for you is as secure as it can be, and that's why we invest so much time into our security model and platform. All right, so what I'd like to do next is we're going to go through, I'm going to go slide by slide, and then I'm going to switch it over to the screen and just kind of quickly show you. We're going to keep the demo fairly light today, guys. I just want to show you some targeted areas of the system and how we deal with some of these challenges that were brought up. So the first challenge is dealing with multiple systems and multiple programs. So the way we handle that in SmartSimple is that everything, as I mentioned before, is based on a single platform. So if I go into, this is just my homepage, and I'm going to come back to these dashboards in a second when we talk about the reporting features, but what I want to show here is just my main menu. And if we bring our eyes to focus here in this central applications section, then we can see here that we're tracking a lot of different things. We have a lot of different apps within our one SmartSimple platform. So in the case of this example, and what I'm looking at now is just a site we use for these kind of purposes, webinars, that's based on a corporate environment. And we can see here I have things like my corporate giving and employee giving, event manager, inventory manager maybe, and even a program manager. So I can go into any of these individual targeted applications and manage what I need to in there. So I can go in and specify my program details, all within my program manager, define requirements, details of this program, maybe upload documentation, policies, guidelines, define the requirements, min-max grant amounts, what kind of documentation should the grantees provide us when they apply through this program, what kind of documentation, budgets are applicable. So these are all available to you through the platform using the targeted apps for their unique purpose. So this purpose of this program manager is to manage the programs and will be maintained and run by the program staff. Whereas if I want to deal with applications, then I can go into our corporate giving and I can look at the system from a different way. In this case, I'm looking at all the different applications that we've received in the system. I can see what nonprofit we've attached that to. And I can have all the different questions and parameters that each of the application forms need to take on. But this all ties back to those programs that it would have came in, including the budgets, program manager. I can see this grant falls into our sponsorship program. The budgets available for when I make my disbursements or payments are coming from our 2017 North American head office budgets. So, everything sort of ties together. But the benefit of this is that being on the same platform, all the data is going into one spot. but the end users don't even know. I could be my grant staff, and I don't need to know about the budget manager or the program manager. Those aren't tools that maybe I need to use. But the people running the programs or creating them can operate within their area, within the program manager, define the rules, and then all that information gets shared and determines what I would see when I create my my grant application form. So that's sort of how we deal with all that. And one thing to point out too, in addition to these targeted and discrete applications that we can configure for you, this all sits on top of our base platform, which is really a CRM tool. So I can keep track of all the organizations I deal with, all the people I deal with. We have tools where we can keep online files, folders, calendars, emails, things of that nature, and use these tools along with all of our granting data to really make it a collaborative platform with which to engage with your constituents and community. All right.
I was just going to add, I think one of the other important things to remember is that you can have an unlimited number of these applications because they're all configuration based, and actually because it's all configuration, folks aren't actually buying an application. They're just, it's all configuration based. Yep. There's no extra cost for adding a new application, for example.
No, and that's that's a great point, Alex, because that's it's not those. That's what we mean. That really, when we say a point solution, you get all the benefits of these on the one platform.
Yeah. So we'll have some corporate clients, for example, that only have corporate giving programs. Sure. So they'll only have a corporate giving application. Now you'll also have some corporate clients that may also have employee giving programs as well, in which case they will also have an employee giving application. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they paid anything extra for that employee application. It just means there's additional configuration done to the system in order for them for that to be manifested.
That's right. And using the security and the permissions, the two different groups don't even have to know the other one's using it. So in some cases, if you have a volunteer group, they can maintain and do what they do from a volunteer perspective, whereas the foundation side, the granting side, can operate independently. But the benefits are they're sharing the same platform, so they can share the same organization and people. And when I look at a particular organization, I get that full picture. I get to see everything we've done with them, regardless of what group is using it internally. So that brings us to our second question, or challenge, I should say, and that's the aggregated reporting across all programs. So again, it kind of, thanks Alex, because it kind of segues us nice into this area, with which, and that's sort of what I wanted to come back to from the beginning. And the best way to describe the aggregated reporting is maybe to show you visually through the use of dashboards. So what we've done here is I'm logged in as a staff person, maybe someone from head office or higher up within the organization, and I have several dashboards that I can take advantage of. In this particular case, I want to see our company-wide totals. And the way that we can aggregate data is in what you're seeing here is in the form of a link with we call them shortcuts, and they can have a total or an aggregation of either a number count, maybe dollar values. But the nice thing here is I can select these particular icons, and it'll take me into the records that actually made up the numbers. So in here, I can go to my foundation grants. I see we got 8.6 million. I can go in through here, and I can go into all the approved grants that we have that made up those numbers. When I click onto the actual record itself, I'm actually going to see the grant application form that came from that chart. So we went right from my dashboard right into the record to see the details. In addition to just these numbers and words, we can put it into a graphical format as well. So if I scroll further down the page, we've set up some charts here in which I can do a number of grants by type in this case, the different kinds of employee engagements we're doing. Everything within the system is just like we were able to get to the records. It's dynamic. I can enable, disable pieces of the pie, bring them back, however I want to work with the data. And the same thing, whether it's a chart or whether it was the aggregated shortcuts, I can click into the details. I can go into the right to the records that made up that piece of the pie. Okay, and there's nothing stopping you from having different kinds of dashboards, different kinds of reporting. So this just happened to be our company-wide giving. I have a few charts and graphs here. I have some links that just go to different areas of the system. But let's see what happens when I select my corporate giving dashboard. In this case now, we're not talking about the employee engagement anymore. We're just focusing on corporate giving. I can see I have in-kind grants, disaster relief, community, and instead my charts this time are being controlled. I want to see which, it could be region. In this case, they're world regions or states. Maybe in your case, if we're dealing at a state level, maybe you want to see the different counties that you're dealing with, the different cities within your own area for your own blue plan. So you can kind of break out that data there, right? And the sky's the limit. I mean, in this particular demo, we kept the look and feel of each of the dashboards consistent, just so when I go from one dashboard to the next, I know where to look. But there's nothing stopping you from having maybe 4 charts or 6 charts, or however you want to design it is up to you. If I jump into the employee giving just for a moment, I know we're focused today is on the corporate side, but again, I just want to give you a different visualization of how we can handle the information and present it to you. So instead of the 3D charts, we went with a flat ones this time. Different regions here. Now I'm talking about donations and company dollars. So this is just an example of how we can solve your reporting requirements and the ability to pull all this information. Like, I went from corporate giving to employee giving just at a click. So all that data is there. Why not be able to show it? We also have the ability to take this data and plot it into different types of charts and graphs. In this case, I have grants displayed in a map format. And again, everything's interactive. I can click in. I can go see here, oh, what's going on in Fenton. I can click on that particular grant, and it shows me the grant that it was for. So everything here is interactive. I can highlight areas, work within the charts and graphs, change my aggregation, what maybe I want to choose what I want to group my information by. So this is just one of the ways that we like to handle the data when we talk about aggregation and across different programs. Now, some of the features that we do also support is our own built-in reporting tool. So I know we have a limited time today in the webinar, and I don't want to turn this into a training session, but we do have our own reporting engine where you can just dump out raw data in the form of like Excel, maybe you can dump it out to, or just on the screen if you want to work with the data there. We support a lot of features like open data or OData for short. That's just an industry standard. It has nothing to do with SmartSimple, but we can push this information to like an Excel spreadsheet, for example, where you can then do your own number crunching if you want. Use pivot tables, and a lot of people have a lot of experience in Excel, and if you're happy with that, we can support you there. One more thing on the reporting before we go into something else is even this area here is what we call our main, refer to them as list views in the system, but this is your main area for searching or getting access to information. And here you can build your own ad hoc reporting. So I can create any kind of search I want on any of the fields that are in the database. And once I have my lists, I can do a number of things such as batch update or export the data out into an Excel. Or maybe I want to just download the files that are associated with these grants. We have a lot of opportunity in doing things like that when working with data. So next topic, I think, a next challenge would be that this, software being difficult to use. So this is always a challenge, right? Because you're going to have, different varying levels of technical expertise, different levels of access within the system, and how are we going to handle that? But we like to take kind of a different approach. And, if I'm a power user and I'm someone who has administrative access to the system, then I can see the system in a certain way. Like, for example, there's a lot of stuff going on this screen, but I feel very comfortable with it. I'm familiar with the system, and that's what I need to see. We can create and limit what people have access to based on these portals that we create for them. So we're really only giving people, if we need to, access to what they need when they need it. So for example, if I go here, I can take on the role of this employee, for example. So if I select on Nicole and I quickly hop into her portal, we can see here that we've now condensed all that stuff into just the things that she needs to do. So what she's doing, I can compare myself to other staff members to see how I compare into the donations we're making this year. I can see my own progress, very simple, keeping it clean, keeping it tidy. There's not too many buttons, not too much I can kind of go awry. And when we present these portals to the end users, we're making sure that we're just showing them the things that they need to see and the actions that they need to take. And these can all be configured for the various people of what they need to do within the system. So we would work with you on defining, what does this kind of person need to do as a program officer or a grant staff or a reviewer, and then we would help you work out the best design or use case for how to present this information to the user. Just on a day-to-day level, we have some key features where we can tag records that we want to save for later. We can change the layouts of the screen at clicks of a button. So for example, here I am in my list. Maybe I want to, instead of clicking into each record, I can flip myself into a split screen where I can get my results on the left-hand side, and when I select on the record themselves, the data will appear on the right-hand side, so I can kind of work with my list and the data that I want in one screen rather than having to click in and out. So there's a lot of different ways that we can work with the data, display the data, control how people interact with the system to try and make that ease of use much easier to handle. I can hide the left nav, rearrange how I want to see things on the page. So, you know, these are the kind of things that we like to put into the user experience.
Great, and I think just something to add on my own personal level. I mean, we've been talking about how you can add any number of applications to an instance. So my department, my team, we actually have a campaign manager built out in our own version of SmartSimple. Now, obviously for our purposes, for marketing, but we actually have a campaign manager that tracks all of our ongoing campaigns, our events, and all the associated activities related back to those campaigns. I think the really neat thing is that, Eric, I sat down with you and had an hour-long training session, and I knew enough after that 1 hour training that I was actually able to configure and change the settings in my own very own campaign manager for me to be able to shape it in the way I want to be able to use it in my own way.
And I think that's actually an excellent point, and I think it kind of even ties into this, Alex, with the high cost of ownership, because it allows us to, I know you had some points to talk about this, but I think that's also something like just being able to either do a little bit of training or kind of do it yourself. You don't have to go to a third party like us and say, Eric, we need something changes, we have to pay you to do it. If you have the training and you have a little bit of knowledge, you can kind of make these changes on your own. Yeah,
absolutely. And actually, before I get to my points about dealing with the challenge of the high cost of ownership, maybe you want to talk just a little bit about the training, because I think it does relate back to the ease of use of the software itself and, and how we do set up our clients to successfully be able to navigate through the software.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, training actually, it falls under my umbrella, so it's kind of near and dear to me. We offer training in a variety of ways. Primarily when we set up any new system for our clients, we do training during the project. So during the implementation, we run an end user training, so you can see as we're building your system, we kind of show you, it's like, hey, this is what we've built so far. This is how you navigate it, and here's how you can see it coming together. And then we provide system administrator training for those who would want to administer their own systems. They would learn how to add a new question maybe to an application form, or add a new user or a new role, or build a portal even. And then we always have ongoing training. So maybe get some new hires, people come and go with an organization and a fluid marketplace. So, we can always provide ongoing support for you and give you additional training when needed. And we maintain an online wiki with which we put all of our knowledge about the platform and all the different features and functionality online for public knowledge. You can even just Google SmartSimple Wiki custom fields, and it'll take you to the appropriate pages that deal with that. And we have our very own staff here, so if you want to walk through something with people, you can talk to us, pick up the phone, give us a call. Our support staff or business support people are always willing to help and talk you through any problem.
Yeah. And then now just related specifically back to the challenge of the high cost of ownership, I think at first it bears mentioning or repeating that SmartSimple is an online platform. So naturally what that means is that our pricing model is based off of a software as a service type of model, which means that we charge our clients on a monthly basis for the license to use or access the system. I don't think that's very different from a lot of vendors these days. But I think what makes us sort of stand apart from other vendors in terms of our pricing model is that we're usage based, and it's really different from other vendors because most vendors will base their pricing model off of a per user fee. So that means regardless of whether your users are using or accessing the system or not, they're still paying for that particular user. Now we take a different approach. We don't base off our pricing off of a per user fee. Rather, we base it off of usage. And so what that means is that every month we track the number of hours that a particular user is within the system and actually logged in and using the system, and we base our pricing model off of that. And we feel that that's in a lot of ways it's a lot more egalitarian and a lot more, I guess, from our perspective, fair in terms of a proper reflection of what usage the client's actually getting out of the system at that given point in time.
Yep.
And I think the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that it's not uncommon for us to be flexible in terms of how we structure pricing when we're talking to prospective clients, because oftentimes we come across this all the time. Clients will come to us saying they've got a set budget and they need a defined cost of ownership. And so while our standard pricing model is variable by nature, we're flexible to talk to our clients about setting, a standard fixed price model that we can both agree on, where they'll know, where the client knows every single month, this is how much exactly I'm going to be paying over the course of a 2-year cost of ownership. This is exactly how much I'm going to be paying. So while our standard pricing is based off of usage, it doesn't necessarily have to be, and there could be defined pricing. It really depends on what the preference is of the client and what we negotiate with them. Poor customer support. I think we can both comment on this particular challenge because I know this is something that's also near and dear to your heart as well, Eric. But I think there's a couple things that we want to mention here. So when it comes to customer support, I think one of the things that we do is we buck the trend from what a lot of vendors are doing these days, which is really putting an emphasis on live support. I know a lot of vendors these days, in fact, when I deal with Google or other types of software companies, they just have an online library where you search FAQs, and that's pretty much all the resources you have for support. But I think we take a different approach there because we actually have live support. And actually last Monday, we went live with 24/5 service, which is 24-hour live support 5 days a week. And I'm quite confident in saying that we're the only ones that can offer that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, challenges, we're a global organization. We have clients all over the world, and we want to support our clients all over the world, but not just through email and text messages. And we want to actually talk to you, support you, and see what the concerns are. So this is very important to us to do that here. We run that right here locally out of our Toronto office. Yeah,
and I think one of the other things that we've just recently launched, which Eric, again, you're spearheading, is the business strategy services. Maybe do you want to talk about that for just a second?
Sure, thanks, Alex. This is also exciting for me. We'll be making official announcements really soon, and this is just another way of better handling our engagement with our partners, our clients. And it's a way for you to have those conversations with us that is not necessarily a technical question that's like, oh, I need to add a new question to my application form. How do I do it? I need that answer right now. This is more someone you can talk to as an advisor. Say, hey, you know what? We're thinking about changing our grant staff portals. We've been using it now for a year. We want to make some changes. We want to add a new dashboard. Maybe what's the best way to go about it? So through this service, and again, it's included with your license fee. It would just be someone you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, and come up with the right approach. Maybe it turns out you just need some training you can do yourself. Or maybe you want to, you're too busy, you don't have the time, you want to outsource that to us to build that particular feature. Or maybe it's just, just someone to share a mind and say, am I getting the right thinking here? What's the best way I should approach this challenge?
Yeah, and I think, again, it's worth mentioning that all of our clients do have access to live support.
Yes.
But beyond that, we also have another layer of support called premium support services, and that's an enhanced type of support beyond the essential support.
Correct. So this gives you, again, live person to deal with, but instead of just going into the queue and getting the next person in line, you actually get a named representative who is your dedicated support person. So when you do call, you talk to them. They are your single point of contact. They can help you with any questions to do with technical. They can also be the person that you deal with some business advisory questions as well. So they're perfectly suited to help you with that. You get director level access in terms of regular scheduled meetings with someone that we have like myself and Teresa, who deals with our research clients, where we can, do monthly check-ins, we'll make sure things are going okay, and we can help plan, what you're using the system for going forward, as well as all your configurations done by us, included in those costs. You don't have to do it yourself. We just do it for you. You don't need to. It's like kind of pre-budgeting for the year, so you don't have to come and say, oh, geez, we have that new application form we got to build. Now I got to find some funds to get that done. We just do that as part of this service, as well as training. You get quarterly training as included as to keep it as refreshers on topics that whatever you want them to be.
Great. Outdated software. This is the last challenge that I think we're going to cover today, but I think we'll start off by saying that by nature, again, because we are an online solution, we can actually push updates and new enhancements to our clients. It's a little bit different from your traditional installed type of software solution, because in an installed environment, obviously you have to actually go out and acquire the updated version of that particular software. Think about Microsoft Office years ago, where every year you had to buy a new version of that. But we upgrade the SmartSimple platform every 3 months, and it's pushed automatically to all of our clients. I think what's really neat about our upgrades also is that a lot of the features and functionality that are built into a version of an upgrade come from our clients directly. Yeah. And so a lot of the enhancements that are built in are really purposeful and are needed because our clients have asked for it.
Yeah, I'd say 80% of our features are client driven. We've had some good ideas, but I think most of the best ideas have actually come from our client base. Yeah,
and again, what we do is, and education is a really important thing for us in educating and empowering our clients. When we release an upgrade, we also do Q&A upgrade sessions, and I think that's a really important thing to note, because it's great for us to be releasing all these new enhancements and such, but if our clients don't know about them, number one, or if they don't know how to take advantage of them, then it doesn't do them any good. And of course, I have the perfect person to be doing this presentation with, because Eric, you normally do these Q&A sessions.
Yeah, they're really good. It's just a way to help you. Change is always difficult for people. We do understand that, and as we want to be progressive, we want to make sure that our software does not become outdated. We always want to be at the tip of the spear when it comes to software. That can also lead to challenges of people having to learn new things. So when we do our upgrades, we always try to make any new features or functionality an opt-in type model, so it doesn't just get thrown in your face. You do have to maybe enable it or say, yes, I'm going to take advantage of that new mapped feature or something. Sometimes we've got to make some changes visually, but then these are the ways we try to help alleviate you, mitigate the change on your end by providing these upgrade webinars. We've been doing videos now, sending them out in advance to kind of help people if the navigation changes are happening. So, we take that really seriously.
Yeah, and I think what's also worth mentioning is that we do have formalized programs in place to actually collect client feedback. Yeah. We run product advisory council sessions. They're basically focus groups where we speak to our clients and they give us ideas and feedback on what new things they'd like to see in the platform implemented. So we run those on a quarterly basis. We also have a number of client events that we run a year. We have 6 client events this year, actually, apart from our annual conference. And we utilize those client events really as a mechanism, not only for educating our clients, but also for us to really get some face-to-face time with their clients, so they can tell us what they're really doing with their systems and where are their challenges and where we can help them out by further enhancing the functionality of the platform.
Great.
So to summarize, really, just to talk about how we've helped some of the Blue plans that we've worked with already. Local teams, regional users are more satisfied and they're enabled with the information they need with one centralized system. They're all looking at one thing, one centralized view. The fact that the platform is 100% online, I think it, again, because we're an online solution, the great thing is that 24/7 you have access to all the information, all the data you need, wherever, whenever you are. One
thing on the online thing too is just as some people sometimes don't realize is it's very light in terms of your network and architecture. So it's not like your IT team has to then go and install 100 copies of this software on everybody's computers. Everybody's got a browser. You just log in.
Yep, absolutely. And we kind of touched on this point earlier as well, the aggregation of data across all programs. I mean, that's something that we can help future Blue plans with, but it definitely is something that our existing Blue plans really take advantage of, and one of the reasons why they came to us in the first place.
Oh, sorry.
We missed the last point there,
sorry.
Which is capturing metrics and outcomes reporting. But I think you really demonstrated all of those things in the dashboards, the BI dashboards, in the visualizations and such. So we do have a robust set of tools to help you report on the impact of the programs that you guys are running. So one thing I did want to mention before we wrap up is we are actually running a special campaign right now for existing GIFs Classic or Alta users. As you probably well know, GIFs Classic and Alta are being grandfathered or sunsetted. And so in short time, anybody that is using those particular applications will no longer be able to, or at least it won't be supported. And so what we're offering for folks that are using those tools right now, if they are looking at moving over to SmartSimple, we will waive the entire cost of the data migration services. Usually that takes about 3 or 4 days worth of effort on our part. So there is a couple $1,000s in savings on the upfront transition over from that. So the offer expires at the end of this year, so you've got plenty of time, but I do encourage you to try and take advantage of that while it's still available.
And one thing too, I just want to just kind of thought of on the fly here. We will be at Peak Conference in a couple of weeks, so I don't know if any of you plan on attending, but stop by. I'll be there if you want to meet me in person. Not that I'm that important or anything, and also at the ACCP conference.
That's right.
So we're always willing to talk to you in person if you'd like to kind of put if you'd rather engage with us that way.
I think that really wraps it up. I mean, what we can do is we can open the floor for questions.
Sure.
You'll notice a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen from the Zoom technology. Just type in your questions there. If you want us to show you something in the system, we can do that too, provided we've got it set up for it. But yeah, if you have any other questions about the company, the technology itself, please do type it in the chat box, and we'll give it a couple seconds to see if anything comes in. Okay, I hope the silence means that we've answered everyone's questions. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Again, I want to thank Alona from the GPO once again for setting this up for us. And again, if you have any questions beyond this, or if you'd like to set up a personal demo, please visit our website, smartsimple.com. There's our email address as well as our phone number. Be sure to contact us through there. I think what we're going to do is we're going to make this recording available to you, and we'll actually email it to you after the conclusion of this webinar. So you'll have all of this information for you in place.
Great.
So on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and have yourself a great day.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.